All right, in this episode of Bare Knuckle Bowker, very excited to talk to an individual who will be vying for bantamweight gold in the BKFC once again as he takes on Justin Ibarrola this time out. That transpires at BKFC 85 on December the 5th. And very excited to have Ryan Reber back on Bare Knuckle Bowker to talk all about that. How are you doing, man?
And I'm doing great, man.
Just seems like such a massive moment for you here. Like I was seeing there was an interview where you were talking about how this moment is ultimately 25 years in the making for you. So just incredible stuff for sure, man.
Oh, absolutely, man. I've been working my whole life towards something of this stature. Never thought it would be a bare knuckle world title, but here we are, man. Um, Still fighting.
And that's interesting. Was the goal just like some representation of like a combat sports championship of like a high level distinction? Was that kind of the goal you always had that you kind of referenced there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You always wanted to be a world champion doing something, man. Whether it was MMA, boxing, and then here comes bare knuckle, landed right on my lap, man, and the rest is history.
Yeah, and it seems like a fight that just makes so much sense. Just, I mean, the obvious athletic meritocracy piece of you guys being the number one and two contenders in the division. But it seemed like this fight was kind of like going through the rumor mill for, a few weeks and everything like that. So I guess when was this officially kind of locked in and everything?
I'd say probably, I mean, locked in just recently, man. But it's been in the talk since my last fight. Like I obviously, if you guys seen my last fight, I called him out on the apron, however you want to say it, you know what I mean? Said, seeing how there ain't no champ and Justin thinks he's the fucking champ. Why don't we fight for your belt, Justin? So, that was the hype right there. And I think from there, man, they were trying to get us to run a tournament, like I said before, man. And we just kind of, I think both of us really shut it down because it's, and it's not to take away from any of the other guys on the roster or any guys that are 135, but like, come on, man. We had to blood, sweat, and tears to get to, he had to get to 8-0. I had to get to 7-1. And it wasn't an easy road for either one of us, especially in a bare knuckle sport. So, I was thinking, like, what kind of sense does that make to have a tournament? You're going to put me against a guy that has one win in the division, two wins in the division, maybe doesn't even have a win in the division, but because of his name, you know what I mean? So it's like, nah, we shut that shit down and got what we were asking for, man. And, um, I'm just super happy to be, in this moment, man.
Yeah, I mean, tournaments can always be fun, but I think to your point, there has to be a certain level of like reasoning for it, like in terms of like there being a field of multiple people where it's like, yeah, sure,
Right.
we can make a go at this. I think this reads as like the number one and number two guys fighting for a vacant title, and there's contenders, behind that to kind of be the next subsequent challenger once everything is sorted out here. Like, I mean, guys like Bekzod, Usmanov, Keith
Right.
Richardson,
No,
former
right. And
champion.
and those are great guys, but it like you said, you look at Bexanoff and what he beat Keith, which was impressive. But I mean, that was pretty much the only fight and only win, I believe, at 135. You know what I mean? So, get you another one. The same thing with Nate. He had a fight at a catch weight, so he hasn't even fought at 135, I believe. Did he? Or was his last fight 45? I don't even remember, man. But he may even then have one fight in the division. You know what I mean? So, look, I get your background, I get this, I get that, whatever, man. But have a fight with a contender. Have a fight with a tough veteran guy, and then you see where you're really at, and then go from there, man. That's the way I look at it. But from this point, now that I got what I wanted, I don't fucking send whoever next. You know what I mean? Doesn't matter to me. Really don't. Disappointed. As long as you're my weight and you breathe the same air as me, then it is what it is, man. Be prepared for whatever.
Yeah, and I guess to the point of like tournament fields that do, make sense and everything. I feel like that lightweight tournament field fits within that, and Trout
No, that was
Palomino
because
too.
you got all those guys that are so close and that beat each other and that almost beat each other and whatever it may be. But yeah, you're 100% right. But then when you look at the bantamweight division, you're like, this that wouldn't make no sense to me, man. You know what I mean? It just it doesn't make no sense. So.
I guess within that though, because there's that, I guess, connection piece to, that tournament and this card you're on. Like, do you have any thoughts on that Trout Palomino rematch? Like, does Trout go 2-0 there, or does Palomino even it
I
up?
mean,
Like,
it's a different weight, man. So we'll just have to see. I think the first one was very close. I think this one's going to be very close as well, and somebody's going to slide it out like they did last time, man. And maybe Palomino takes it this time, and then they have a trilogy. I don't know, but then it's in a tournament, so then they're gonna have to wait on that. And that's the other thing about bare knuckle tournament, like. Bro, you go out there and you have a complete war and you fucking break your hand or you can't fight for another 4 months. Then where does that leave the guy that's next in line? He's got to wait 4 more months for you to be, you know what I mean? So the tournament shit is kind of weird, especially when it comes to bare knuckle. But, um, you know, I get it. I get it. I just didn't get it for our weight class and it didn't make sense. So I told them no, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not doing that. So, you know, it is what it is.
yeah, and I did kind of mention it in the intro, I guess, in the idea of like pursuing something a second time. Like, obviously, in their situation, it's a specific rematch, but with this being your second bid for BKFC Gold, like I was seeing some interviews where it seems like there's like an additional almost like urgency component or like I guess recognizing the importance of the moment, something of that persuasion. Like I guess what did you take away from that initial title bid against Alberto Blas that can, in a way behoove you in this one in terms of cementing yourself as the champion?
I mean, man, I feel in my heart and soul every dog has his day. You know what I mean? And a lot of people got to realize that I've never fought at a high level in pro or any of that shit. So I had to run this from nothing, run this to the top from nothing. So when you run into a guy like Alberto that's got his T's crossed and his I's dotted and doesn't smoke, doesn't drink, is constantly in the fucking streets doing backflips and training and hungry and going and comes from, a background, a Cuban background, and was doing this since he was 3 years old, I heard. I mean, man, let me tell you something. Everything has to be in order to beat a guy like that. And of course, I was up for the challenge, but training camp was bad. The things I was doing behind closed doors was bad. So things didn't align up for me to win. You can't just talk your shit and think you're going to go out there and perform at a high level. In order to perform at a high level, you must do everything right behind closed doors. Your training must be right. Your nutrition must be right. Your mindset must be right. Your spirituality must be right. Everything has to be right in order to fight at a high level. And if you're not, no matter what you say, you will go out there and you will get exposed. And that's kind of what happened to me, man. And it was a very, very, very tough pill to swallow, man. And I never, ever wanted to feel like that or be in that situation again. So what did I do? I went back to the drawing board. I wrote my wrongs and immediately got back to work and started changing it. And then obviously you see in the Matt Guyman fight, and Matt Guyman is no fucking slouch. He ain't the most skillful fighter, but he's a heavy little bastard on the way back in there. He was 5 pounds bigger than Alberto was, which was crazy to me. And I think he said he was 160 coming back in. He went from 135 to 160, and he cracked me with everything he had. I mean, there was even a punch, that BKFC shared that I slipped under my straight and cracked me to the jaw, and I was like, and then I came back and was like, whoa, damn it. But I mean, that was me not, I did not want to lose again, man, especially in front of my son and my people. Like, my son's first fight was me going down to Miami. That was his first fight he got to witness. And I mean, to watch your dad fucking crumble like that, man, I mean, it was just, it does something to you, man. It really, really does. And I mean, somebody like Justin, he ain't been there yet. So for all his shit talking that he's doing, like, oh, if I lose to a guy like you, I'm going to quit. Well, you better get your fucking next job lined up, pal, because I'm coming for that man, and I'm coming with everything that I got. And he's gonna see some shit he ain't never seen. He's gonna feel some pressure he ain't never felt. And it's gonna be a long night for him, man. And like I said, I'm here to rewrite my wrongs, man. And I've gotten another opportunity to do so, and I'm gonna 100% capitalize on it, just like I have been this whole time. Because I really been training since the Matt Guyman fight. And now, of course, it's not a training camp to where I'm fucking going hard as hell every day, but I'm working pretty much every single day. And if I need to take a day, maybe even two off, okay, I do that. You know what I mean? But I have not stopped. It's not stopped. So, it's gonna be a very interesting fight. And if Justin has worked as hard as he said he has, then it could be a fight of the night. If he hasn't, I'm knocking him the fuck out, and it will probably only go 3 rounds. And that's my prediction for this is 3 rounds, and he's out of there. Whether it's a doctor stoppage, whether it's a TK, or whether it's just a straight knockout, and that's what I'm coming for.
And your phrasing before was kind of interesting because I feel like that's a sentiment that people who avidly follow the bare knuckle space would probably agree with. Like, obviously, everyone has their own perceptions and opinions, but talking about, Ibarrola's, spotless record, but at the same time, it's like in a context where you're the most battle tested guy that he's fought so far. So, interesting dynamics in those regards that you kind of touched on.
No, absolutely, man. 100%. And I think he's not really, maybe he is, and he's just talking differently about it, but he's really not putting that into context. Like, we fought a lot of the same guys. And I mean, arguably, I beat him up worse than he did. You know what I mean? So, and there's a couple of fights that he really squeaked by. And I mean, realistically, I haven't had a fight where I squeaked by. Maybe you could say Travis because of the 6 round war, but that was also a fight where I had 2 fights, technically 3, but I don't count the Shady fight because of you and everybody knows that story. But I technically had 2 fights. Travis had 9. And when I tell you Travis had he had Keith one time Thurman in his corner. He was training at his gym. And I mean, if you asked Travis at that time, are you going to beat Ryan? He'd have been like, oh, there's no doubt. I got the experience. I got the knowledge. I got the power. I got the moves. And I mean, Travis was not only not scared to fight me, but he thought 100% he was going to take me out. And I mean, for me to go in there and do what I did, especially after coming off the damn game bread loss, was like, that's why I feel like they threw me to the wolves. They're like, oh, you want to go to game bread and get fucked up? I'm like, yo, it's a 4-day notice, man. But they're like, I don't care. Watch, now you got to fight Travis. I'm like, let's fucking line it up. Fight him. Let's fight him. And I came in there with a good mentality, a good game plan, and we got the job done. And like I said, that was the only fight where I really squeaked by. I mean, Quentin Foy was kind of close, but it wasn't even close on the scorecards. So, sorry about that. I had a phone call coming in. It wasn't even close on the scorecard. So I mean, with Quentin Foy. So and then you look back at Justin Street's really close. Quentin Foy definitely dropped him, and they didn't give him that drop. And then of course my boy Roberto Armas. I feel like obviously he didn't do enough to beat him, but I mean arguably it could have went either way. You know what I mean? So bro, when you're out here, squeaking past fights, and then you're out here talking like, well, if I lose to somebody like you, I'm just gonna quit. Like, bro, not only did you just add more pressure to the fight for yourself, but like I said, you better get your fucking next job lined up, man, because I'm not gonna come whoop your ass, man. And you better have a plan for that. So, we'll see. And nothing stands out to me with Justin that is impressive except for his record. You know what I mean? Like we fight very, very similar. As soon as you put pressure on him, where does he go? Right back to the ropes. And then he tries to counter just like I do. But the difference between countering is it's all about timing, and I'm a little bit longer. So I do believe I'm going to be that split second that's going to catch him before he catches me. And that's going to be the difference is, my reach. And, I just feel like I'm more of a fucking dog than he is, man. And it's going to be shown come December 5th.
Yeah, and just because it was kind of mentioned earlier, just as kind of like a last reference point to this, because I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't get your thoughts on it. But I mentioned the Blas fight, and the title is now vacant because he left to go to BKB and since won his debut effort over there. I guess what are your thoughts on the totality of all of that? Just Blas leaving as champion and then the subsequent win and BKB's mighty Trigon and all.
Um, one door closes, the next one opens, man. And I mean, it was the perfect opportunity. We heard he was possibly going to leave or get stripped or something of that nature anyway. So we were kind of playing the waiting game forever. And then finally he just decided, hey, I'm going to jump ship. And it was kind of like, whoa. And, as soon as that happened, of course, here comes everybody out the woodworks like, oh, I'm dropping down to 35 and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And we're coming to 35. Like, motherfuckers, stay in your goddamn lane. Like, I don't even want to hear that shit, bro. Like, not really. And like I said, people may think that I'm easy pickings because like I didn't have a extensive background with the UFC or MMA or boxing, but I got my experience and I got my knowledge here, and I'm about 4 to 5 fights ahead of everybody on the roster. And let me tell you something, that experience plays dividends in this sport. You know what I mean? Because it ain't MMA, it ain't boxing, it ain't kickboxing. So whatever you did over there, that was over there. Ain't gonna mean you're gonna do that same thing over here. So, you know, that's where I'm at with it, man.
Yeah, I mean, so much individual experience through your own competitive efforts, but then also having people in your corner and people you work with, like Julian Lane, David
Mm-hmm.
Mundell, just that idea of
Yep.
working with champions to serve your own goals of being a
You
champion
know,
yourself.
Jessica Borgia. You know, she's in camp with me as well half of the time. So that no, and that's it. And I've always learned at a young age, you are who you surround yourself with, and that's one of my biggest things. You show me your friends, and I'll show you your future. So if I'm hanging out with 3 world champions, I mean, shit, Justin, how many world champions you hanging out with, my friend? You know, and that isn't just the solidifying underlining factor of me winning, but I'm gonna tell you right now, I'd say 90% of people counted my man Julian out against Gogo. And as well, I could see why. You know what I'm saying? Gogo was undefeated at the time. He's coming back. He's super hungry. But I was one of the only ones who knew what Julian was doing behind closed doors. And when I tell you that man was locked in the gym that he was going to, Munyet Flowers out in Newport Richey, Florida, he only deals with high level athlete fighters, only high level guys, and has camps for them and has high level guys come to his camps to come train. And I watched Julian come home one night as white as my shirt. And it was about after a 45-minute drive, and he comes through my front door looking sick and crazy. I'm like, bro, what the fuck? And he's like, bro, I just threw up in your yard again. I'm like, bro, for real? I'm like, you was working like that? And he's like, yeah, yeah, man. I'm like, what the fuck were y'all doing? And he got through 3 exercises out of probably 10. And the next thing you know, he's on my couch like, I'm like, damn, bro. And then the same thing with Dave. Dave's a hard worker. Hard work. I don't really know too many people that work harder than Dave. And the same thing with Dave. He'd be there in the morning, and then I'd see him in the afternoon. We'd meet up, and he'd just be like, I'm like, bro, you all right? Yeah, I was at Munyet's this morning, and I'm like, bro, like this Munyet's, man, this is where I need to be. This is where I need to be. So I've been there for a couple months now, and like I said, man, his track record is 22-2 with all his athletes. And that's where winning is done, is places like that. So like I said, man, I've never ever trained this hard for a fight and been this locked in, dialed in for so long. You know what I mean? I quit all the bullshit months out. I mean, even at the Jersey show, the guys were begging me to go to New York for the night. I'm like, nope, I'm not doing it. Cut off drinking, cut off everything, and was like, I'm just not, I don't want any piece of doubt in my mind, like, oh, that one time I was partying, that could be my hinder, or that one time I was doing, because that's how fighters are, that's how we are. You know what I mean? You start trying to make these excuses in your head, like, well, if I lose or if this I was not, because I did it in the Blas fight. I did that. You know what I mean? I made those fucking excuses for myself. And then when I was malnourished and looked like shit, and one of his favorite things to say was, "Oh, we picked you because you look like a crackhead." I was like, "Damn, bro." I was like, "All right." So what did I do? I worked on my body. I worked on my strength. I worked on my physique. I worked on all those things so that way the next motherfucker ain't gonna look at me like, "Oh, Reber's skinny and malnourished and he's an easy picking." Not no more. I worked so fucking hard. I got these dudes commenting on my shit like he's on steroids. The steroids aren't gonna help him. Yes, sir. I mean, even Justin, like months ago, shared a picture. He went on my story, screenshotted that shit, and then reshared it with a video. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, don't do that, bro. Don't demoralize my hard work saying that I'm using steroids, knowing we all get fucking tested, especially for these title fights. So I let them think what they want, but that just goes to show me I'm in your fucking head. You know what I mean? And I'm a real grown ass man, so I've been through all this. I've been through the little bickering and back and forth, and I see the insecurities in him. I see when he's got to get on social media and be like, I worked with him today and I did this today. And man, if I went on social media and bragged about all my accolades that I'd be doing during the day, people would be like, fuck, bro, you really doing that? Yes, bro, I'm really doing that. Yes, I'm really living like that. Yes, I'm really training like that. But you know what? Social media don't need to hear about it because you know who's going to hear about it? The whole fucking world come December 5th is going to hear about it because that's when it's going to come down. You know what I mean? That's what it's going to come down to. And you could lie and say whatever you want, but you will be exposed under those lights if you were not doing the things behind closed doors. And hard work beats talent. So he thinks he's Mr. Talented, but you better hope you were working hard with, all that talent you got. Because if you weren't, all that shit's going out the window, man. And what he seems to forget is he's very similar to me. No pro background, no big amateur background, wasn't winning fights. You know what I mean? So for him to just jump into the game and think that he's going to get all these accolades and all this, oh, well, if I lose to a guy like you is what he's telling me the other day. Like, what the fuck is that supposed to mean, bro?
Yeah, yeah.
That's a bad mentality to have in this because you know who taught me that the best? Julian Lane. He said what fucked him up, and I pick these guys' brains all the time, and me and Julian are like this, man. Like he normally stays with me during fight camp, so we're with each other all day, every fucking day. So I'm constantly picking his brain and asking him and watching how he moves. And he told me, man, he's like, you know what fucked me up during that Perry fight? I was like, nah. He's like, because I kept saying I was gonna knock him down in the first round, and I got knocked down. And when I got knocked down, it was so fucking hard to come back, not even mentally from that, but physically, like he threw me off my whole game plan, man. And I couldn't, and I was like, and that's, why you don't say certain things because your tongue is the sword, man. That could really curse you, man. And, he's already said a lot of goofy ass shit that, doesn't really align with what he's, with what is, coming for the future. So, well, like I said, we'll see, man. It's gonna be very interesting for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. And I guess like a few pieces there, because you mentioned, Mike Perry's fight with Julian Lane. And earlier you were talking about that short notice game bred fight you had. And Jeremy Stevens was also on that card.
Yep.
I guess just curious to get your thoughts on that Perry Stevens fight for the King of Violence title that happened, I guess, a few weeks ago.
I mean, it was amazing. I give Stevens all the props in that fight because we all know he's the 145er coming up to fight fucking Perry, who's a damn dump truck, who has got the worst technique in the game, but damn it, he is tough, bro. And it's very hard to beat a guy like that. So, once you crack a dude with all the shots that you have and they ain't going nowhere, it's very demoralizing, man. It really is. So, hats off to Stevens on that fight, man. Like I still win, lose or draw, I still commend him to do what he did, man. And hats off to him. And obviously Perry too, man. I like Perry. I know Dave and him have their beef, man, and I'll always side with Dave. But I like Perry too, man. Perry's a good dude. I really like him, man. He really paved the way for a guy like me who came from absolutely nothing is now part of the biggest organization and fighting for a second world title. The only thing I'm missing is the damn money, but it will come. It will come in the future, man. So I'm not sweating that either. Of course we want it all now, but I'm patient, man. And patience is key. So, you know, we'll see.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Just see how things play out and everything like that. But you seem so locked in and just such an exciting fight coming up. But in the spirit of what I was talking about earlier, Ryan, I do want to be mindful of your time and what you're getting up to. So, in that sense, do you perhaps have a final parting thought you maybe wanted to add as we're kind of wrapping up here? I really appreciate the time and insights today.
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, like I said, Justin, you better get your next job lined up because you're gonna lose to me come December 5th. And I'm sorry about that, but everybody tune in because it's gonna be fucking fireworks, man. And that's really all I gotta say, man. Locked in, working hard, and it's almost ready to bang.
It's such a great fight for the vacant bantamweight title, the number one and two contenders, respectfully. And yeah, like you said, December 5th, gonna see that go down in Hollywood at BKFC 85. But again, Ryan, thank you for coming on Bare Knuckle Bowker once again today. All the best with the remainder of the preparations here, man, and just have a good rest of your day as well. Thank you.
Man, I appreciate you.